This is my Mazda 13B Rotary turbo engine. Doesn't it look neat and tidy? Well, I still have to add all of this and some of that. Now, I know this might look a wee bit intimidating, but it's not. It's a lot intimidating. Hello YouTubes. Today we are going to attach everything I've got to this engine in hopes that we can figure out what else we need to make it run. So where do we start? I'm going to start by actually removing some stuff that we don't need and cleaning some holes. For example, these studs here I think are for power steering and AC. Not going to be running any of that, so I can remove them. And I want to clean inside my spark plug holes before I fit my brand new spark plugs. I don't want to be rotating this engine with shrapnel inside. They're not too bad, but I don't want any grime in there, and for the sake of 10 minutes of cleaning, it's worth getting them all cleaned. And I'll check for any other orifices. So let me get these out, them cleaned, and we'll go on to the next thing. Studs are now removed and my holes are clean, and as you can see, they were a lot dirtier than I was expecting. I got right in there. So what I'd like to do next is rotate the engine and listen for any scraping and any clunks, and then if we're absolutely sure that there's no nuts and bolts falling down the hose, we can start assembling things. 19mm socket in here. I'll rotate, you can listen for chuffing and scraping. It felt smooth and it chuffed nice, but did you hear that high-pitched wee? I don't know what that is. Metal to metal. Might just be because it's kind of dry and it needs oil through it. Nothing that I can do about it just now. I'm going to fire it up regardless. Right, what's next? Let's get the water pump pulley on, which goes here. Now you can see there's 8 bolts and 4 bolts and 4 studs. The studs are for a mechanical fan, which I'm not going to be running. I'm going to be running an electric fan, so I don't need the studs. So I will remove the 4 studs, take these bolts out for now, clean that up, obviously, because that's horrible. And then we'll get the pulley on. In order to get this pulley on, I need to remove these 2 pulleys, because they get in the way. You'll see that when I get to it. Right, back when that's clean and tidy. All nice and clean, studs removed. So let me show you the problem with getting this on. You can get over the first one and the second one, but not the third. Horrible design. So in order to get this all the way in, I need to remove these 2. Hopefully, from what I've seen, these 2 come off together. Take off those 4 10mm bolts, remove that, put this on. I'll probably clean that up before I put it back on, because, you know, I've cleaned this one up and that one looks crappy now. So let me get that done and I'll be back in a sec. Very quick point to note, when you remove these pulleys, the bolts that hold those pulleys on also hold on this pulley. And if you look down here, that's your timing marks, and that can move. So be very careful you don't misalign that, or you could be in trouble. Now, here's the funny thing. When I put this one on, it lines up obviously with those 2, which means I don't need to put those ones back on because I'm not running AC and power steering. So that makes it even nicer and even lighter. Awesome. Right, let me get them together. Oh, also, sorry, one more thing. Because we've removed those pulleys, we're going to need shorter bolts to go in there. If you don't have shorter bolts, you can cut down the bolts you've got. Luckily for me, I've got shorter bolts. Right, I'll see you when that's all together. Much betterer. You notice here there's a missing bolt. Presumably that was for a bracket for the air pump. Again, something else I'm not running, so I've found another bolt. And I will stick that in there, tighten that up, because obviously that is your water pump and you don't want that leaking. Okay, I will tighten that up in a second. Right, moving on. In no particular order, I'm going to move to the back. You see this big access hole or inspection panel? Absolutely no idea what that's for, but I do have a blanking plate. But it was a bit rusty, so gave it a bit of a clean and a little bit of a paint. Now it looks like that, which is rather nice. So that goes in here. Try not to drop the bolt in it. So it's only held on with one bolt and it's got a clip there. That tucks underneath there. And the bolt goes in there. Nice. I'm liking this black and silver theme I've got going on. Right, let me tighten that one. Let me tighten that one. And then we'll see what we're doing next. Right, those wee bolts are tightened. Now, there's a couple of pipes that I've still to identify. I think it's water. And I think that's water. And I actually think, I saw this in another video, that this connects into the throttle body somehow. So I'm wondering if it comes up into the throttle body to cool that down and then exits through there. I have no idea. I don't think there's anything else here that I am confused about, which is surprising. Moving down this way, I have this big guy. Again, it looks kind of rusty, which would imply water, but it's also right next to all the oil stuff. That's the oil pressure sensor, and I believe that's the oil temperature sensor. So I've got that one to figure out. This one down here I think is oil. It's got a big banjo bolt thing that goes in there, and I think there's another oil one here because I think this is the oil pump area. I'm saying I think a lot because at the moment that's all I can do. So what I'm going to do with these unidentified hoses, I'm going to put a bit of white tape around it so that if I put stuff on top, I don't just forget about it. And it might become more apparent where these connect to once I put more stuff on. So what we put on next? How about the injectors and fuel rails? Now, don't panic everyone. These are kind of temporary injectors for now, just to make sure that everything lines up and is sized up properly. I think they are the right injectors, these red ones, but the other two I've got are orange, as you can see, and they're from an FC NA, and these are from a turbo. So I need 4 of these, but I don't even know if these will work. As I say, they're really just for sizing up. Tell you what I'm going to do, just to protect these O-rings, because everything costs money if you break it. So I'm just going to put a little bit of lube around the O-rings to help them seat into the fuel rails. There we go. I do have a box of O-rings, but you know what it's like. Everything's going to be a funny size. Oh, upside down. Right. Let's get the primary rail attached. Wiggle these on. Actually, it might be easier just to put them in this way first, because the bottom rings rely on a downward pressure rather than a sideways pressure, from what I can see. Okay, that one's seated. That one is seated. Okay, let's put them in now. And obviously 2 different size bolts, because why not? And obviously you don't want the bolts to be too long, because then you start getting into the inside of the housing territory. That could be a disaster. Looks good. Injectors are tight. Probably too tight, because I'm going to have to plug something in, so I need to swivel this round a bit. Should have noticed that before I tightened it. So round to about there, should give me room. Same on the other side. Right, now I can tighten. Right, both injectors are tight. Just hope I've got enough room for a plug. So that'll be the fuel coming in. Goes along here, goes up here. Obviously these are loose for now. Let's get the secondary rail on. As before, a little bit of, just a little bit of, goodness, okay, a lot of lube apparently around the O-rings, just to help them slide into their homes, which is in here, lovely, and in here. Let's see which way around I want these plugs to face. This attaches up here. Let's point them straight out the way. Nice. These are obviously quite long bolts, and they can go all the way through to the bottom, so don't need to worry about them being a wee bit too long. Let me tighten them down. Right, so that injector is loose, that one is tight. Still loose, so we could have a seal problem down there. I don't think that should be loose. That one's a wee bit loose as well. Someone did leave a comment saying that I need a shim, but I thought he said the shim was for the lower rail. If you know anything about shims to change the height of these, let me know. Although a shim would make it even looser. Okay, so that hose goes in there, along there, and then that's the exit hose there. But that'll do for now. What's next? How about this upper intake manifold? Now, I do have a brand new gasket for this, but it needs a bit of a clean. So for now, we're just going to slap it together. This is obviously not the final build. We're really trying to see if we've got everything right. 4 studs, so I'm going to need 4 nuts and 1 long bolt that goes through there. Let me slap all that together. Let's see if anything makes sense now. So on the top we have this sensor of some description. It's not exactly tight, but the clip isn't on right. Anyway, that will go around there and attach to that. So it's picking up, I'm guessing that's air, maybe air temperature, I'm not sure. Goes in here, comes out there and goes somewhere. Pretty sure that's not water because it's not barbed. So we've got this sensor here. Around this side we've got another sensor, or actuator, I don't know what. You get this hose here, which is also loose, so I don't know if it's supposed to sit down there or round there. Still don't know about that pipe down there, where that's supposed to go. We've got all these vacuum lines that I might be able to block off. What else we got? Okay, so this thing here, I do actually have the thing that goes on there. I think that is idle control. Looks like this. Kevin gave it to me the other day. So that will get bolted in here. It's a bit dirty, I will be cleaning this. Need to get the old gasket off, but anyway, that will go on there. There's a little screw hole in here. Maybe that's for idle control. Okay, so let's see what have we got here. We've got this pipe here now. And if you look at this, the routing, if that's bolted on there, this pipe comes round here, it kind of looks suspiciously like it goes in there. This has been cut at some point, but it kind of just lies that way. You know, like that's where it's supposed to go. Okay, what else we got? We got a hose coming out here. No idea where that goes yet. I don't know what that hole is. Can you see if there's a screw in there? Can't tell. Right, I will clean that bit up, get that old gasket off, screw that on tight for now. Screw these on and then move on to the next thing. Okay, that's on tight. I'm convinced this is where this goes. Anyway, that's on tight, that's on tight. So let's get the throttle body on and see if we can deduce more. Let's get this little vac pipe that I've left on because it's shaped. That looks like it might attach to the throttle body. So we'll get the throttle body on. First of all, we've got this spacer plate that goes on. It might be something to do with a heat sink, I'm not sure. Tell you what though, there's a little hole there, right? So even though this goes on either way, that hole isn't on this side, and I think it needs to be on this side because on the throttle body we have that little hole there, which presumably lines up with that hole there. So yes, I know it's filthy, I will be cleaning this, don't worry. But yeah, I'm going to line up this hole on that spacer with the hole on the throttle body, just in case it matters. I'm sure it does matter, why else would it be there? Well, this is interesting. I don't think I'm going to get this on because this is in the way and it's hitting that nub. That's a bit silly. I might actually have to install the throttle body onto the upper intake manifold. Oh, that's annoying. Let me play with that and see if I'm correct in my assumption that I need to take this off again. Just so you can see what I'm talking about, okay, you've got your 4 studs that need to line up with those holes there. However, when the studs are lined up with the holes, that thing there it's hitting there. That's really dumb. So I think I'm going to have to take this off, attach this and then reattach that. It's annoying. Back in a sec. Done. Let's see if we have any more clues. Right, we now have this. Again, looks like a water pipe. This is attached to the throttle body. So remember what I was saying about that one away down there with the white around it? I have a feeling that it comes up from there to there with a funny bit of hose. I could be wrong. What do I know? Leave a comment if you know, but I can't see where else that would go. I've also just noticed this. I've got a feeling that might go into the intercooler, but we'll find out in a sec because it's different size from that. That one's a bit thicker, but that is the same size as that. Anyway, what else have we got? Oh, lots of throttle body stuff. Obviously that's where the air's going to go in, so it's going to come from the intercooler after it's been cooled and go straight into the engine and get burned up with the fuel. Still don't know where this goes. Right, there is something that I know that I need to add to the throttle body, and that would be this, which I believe is the throttle position sensor. If you ever find one of these, be very careful with it. If you lose it or break it, you go into Rock Auto, which I consider the cheapest solution. $434, $431, $627, $391. I'm not sure what the deal is with that one. Seems a bit cheap. So yeah, that is the same thing. That's what I just showed you. 434. Okay, this is Canadian dollars, but still American. You're talking $300 for that thing. So be careful with it. Might as well show you where it lives. It lives in here. I might as well fit it as well, eh? Now, I believe it lives in here, but I was under the impression that when the throttle was fully closed, that this would be all the way in. But I'm pretty sure it mounts there, judging by the clean metal. But it's not all the way in. It's only about a quarter of the way in. I also noticed that if it did bolt in there, the bolt was still in there and it snapped off, so I'm going to have to drill that out. So I'll need to look into that because that's not going to work. I mean, I could put it in with one bolt just now, but as you can see, it's going to move about. Not exactly going to be very accurate. Okay, something to look into. Also noticed that the top of this is loose. It's missing a nut there holding all this together. So I need to find a nut for that and see if there's anything else that's supposed to attach. For example, this has got a hole through it. I actually thought that's where the throttle cable went, but the throttle cable goes at the other side. So I have no idea what that is for. More investigation required. Hang on a second, I just figured something out. So as I say, this will mount roughly there. You see it's pushing against that, and it's hardly going in when I attach it, right? Or if it was to be mounted there, okay, it's only going in a little bit. However, see that big screw right in the middle? If I unscrew that, it brings this mechanism round counterclockwise and pushes this further in. So I just need to mess about with that, but I do need to drill this hole out and get another screw, which I have none of because they are like M10 1 point something, stupid little screws, so I need to try and figure that out. Right, this time, moving on. M5.8, that's the only one I've got. An old Robertson screw, isn't that weird? Actually no, I've got some extremely long ones. I suppose I could cut them down. Yeah, I'll do that. But let's keep it moving for now. Add more stuff to the table. I'd like to get the intercooler in position, but I have a feeling that if I install the intercooler, I won't have room to fit the alternator. So let's get that on first. And I'll get these little pipes on there. Pretty much just extensions for filling the water and filling the oil. But I want to tackle this first. So I've calculated the alternator sits here. I'm going to need a spacer in there, I believe. And it does have to sit all the way back for that pulley to line up with there. Tried it all the way forward and it kind of sits in between these two, so it has to go all the way back. Bolt through here, that's not the right bolt, it'll do for now. And here's what I really don't like about this setup. So this is your adjusting bracket, okay, so that you can slide it up and down there. But it attaches to this bolt here, which holds the water pump on. That is a crappy design. Regardless, I'll put it on, make sure it all fits. Obviously, I'm going to need a longer bolt, which thankfully I have. Hope it's not too long. I can always put some washers in it, I guess. Still hate that design. No, that's too long. I think that's bottoming out. Find a shorter one or chop this one down a little bit. Let's try this one. That'll do. Need one for the top. That needs a bigger washer. Yep, and once that's all tight, then obviously that's how you tension your belt. Okay. Let's get the intercooler on, or attempt to. Right, big pipe there, small one there, small one there. Two mounting holes there. On the other side, big hole there, two mounting holes there. Looks easy enough. Aha! Two mysteries solved. I'll show you in a sec. Something weird going on at the other side. This side's looking great. These two holes get mounted there. So remember this little mystery here? Well, that pipe lines up and goes in there. And then the one at the back comes out and lines up with that one in there. So that's 2 sorted. I need to use pliers to open that up. The problem is at the other side. There appears to be nothing here to mount this. That's at a bit level there, so something has to fill the gap between this and who knows? I'm obviously missing a bracket. I thought perhaps when I put the oil neck in that it will attach to that. That will sit in there. But no, there's nothing on this bit of pipe that would attach to them, so I must be missing a bracket. But for now, I'm going to get these pipes on and bolt these down, at least on this side. Right, we're bolted down there. These pipes are in place, all looking hunky-dory. I'm going to need a bit of pipe that goes from there down to the turbo. So that will be the boosted pressure coming in to the intercooler. But I don't think I've got the bit of pipe I need for the other side. Presumably there's a sort of 90-degree elbow that goes from the intercooler after it's cooled air down and then into the throttle body. Don't believe I've got that anywhere. So I've no idea where all these, what they're all for. But that's the bit of pipe I was talking about. Pretty sure that that will go in there, underneath that obviously. Right, let me throw that on and see if I've got any more bits we can throw at it. Right, I've connected this bit of pipe and that L-bend, which all lines up nicely. I'm not sure about the orientation of this, okay? I have a feeling though that, you see this pipe here? I think that joins onto there with a little rubber hose. I'm guessing. And then this possibly could be for either this, which I think might be just an OEM recirc valve, or this big daddy, which I'm pretty sure is an aftermarket, pretty much a dump valve. Possibly. But yeah, the diameter's right for that to fit on there and just kind of dangle. I don't know. I'm guessing, but it kind of looks right to me. That would go on there with a shove. It's a pretty thick pipe. Leave a comment. Am I barking up the totally wrong tree here? But that looks right to me. I just spotted this. You see this little hole here? That is plastic. And I think that is the breather for the coolant. You can see a wee hole there. And that's snapped off. That should have a little nipple coming out, or whatever you call it. So presumably I can just unscrew that, replace that. Looks like a wee trip over to see Duncan at Ozcan Industries at the weekend, but I will be doing a full list of parts that I'm going to have to purchase. With regards to these big oil connections for the oil cooler, I do have the oil cooler over here, which looks in perfectly fine condition. Very similar connection to what's on the engine, one there, presumably for these big banjo bolts, like that. One there, one there. The only downside is, this has been mangled. So that can't be used, which is a shame because I know that these are going to be expensive. So I've got that one that's mangled, which is, actually I think it's the same as that one. Is that one mangled? That one's a little bit mangled, but not as mangled as that one. So I might get away with using that one. And then a big long one, which isn't mangled. So I think we're okay for these. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the same one. And I've probably got the big banjo bolts somewhere as well, so I need to just make sure I have the washers that go in them. So that's not the end of the world, if I even need an oil cooler. What's the harm? I know it takes up space, but if it stops the engine from blowing up, then we should probably install it, right? Let's just see if this is going to work, actually. I think this needs to go under there, and then it'll get, where are we, attached to that, come under here. This will need to get rotated so that that one can attach in here. That might work. Who knows if these have been bent out of shape, but I've got a feeling that's the way that's going to work. And then, let's see, the oil cooler would sit, I could probably mount the oil cooler along the bottom, roughly from there to there. That might work, and do some sort of air funneling from the underneath, or maybe not the underneath, that would be silly, it would get stones in it, but certainly from about that height there, that could work. Right, where are we at? I've put a bit of this white insulating tape around all the mystery pipes that I don't know where they go. So what I'll do is I'll go around the engine and I'll say 1, and I'll explain the bit I'm pointing at, and then 2, and so on and so forth. And if you kind of have an idea where it might go or where it's coming from, leave a comment with 1 explanation, 2 explanation, etc, etc. Sound like a plan? Sounds like a plan to me. Right, starting at the back of the engine then. 1 is this pipe here. You know what, this might not even, maybe it's not even meant to be on there, but it was on it when I got it. So this is coming from the upper intake manifold. Comes along here and then just doesn't go anywhere. No idea what that is. Moving on. Number 2, also at the back of the engine. It's coming off the throttle body. It's not actually this end piece, it's these 2 little pipes here. I think they're vac pipes, but I don't know where they're supposed to go. They might, maybe they're supposed to just go in there. There's like 4 vacuum hoses or vacuum lines coming out of the upper intake manifold, so maybe 2 of them just go in there. I don't know. So as I say, number 2. Oh, and while we're in this area, number 3, away down there, remember, it's coming from the engine, and I think it's water, but there is also another pipe which you can't see anymore up here, coming from the throttle body. I said before that maybe that's supposed to link down to that one down there. See it? Way down there. So we'll call that number 3. Number 4 is this little vac line down here, coming from the middle end plate. It's not an end plate, but it's a middle. But it's between, it's a sandwich between the 2 rotor housings. And it's also suspiciously close to the oil feed, or the oil filler. But that looks like a vac line. If you know what that is number 4. Number 5 will be this big pipe here, which it's either water or oil. It's quite a big one, and I've no idea where that goes. There's nothing in this area that looks like it would connect to it. So let me know, number 5. Number 6, away in there, there's a little vac line coming out of a wee diaphragm thingamajig at the bottom of the throttle body. It's just a little vac line. Not sure where it goes. Does it just go to manifold? Let me know. That's number 6. Number 7, this pipe here. It's attached to a metal pipe that actually appears over there. I think it might be turbo related, not sure. But there's a rubber hose that's been cut there, goes to the metal, comes underneath here, and it reappears down there. Very, very strange. I don't know where that goes. If it's connected to turbo, it's either air or, oh, I don't know. Anyway, that's number 7. Number 8 is this little pipe here. So that's the oil filler. And is it just a little breather? I don't know, that's a weird one. I have no idea where that goes. Number 8. Number 9. This big daddy here. I think it's for a blow-off valve or recirc valve, but let me know. Number 9. Number 10 and 11. Maybe does that join on to that? So we'll call that 10 and 11. And finally, number 12, which I thought was something to do with this, which I think is water coming in. When the water gets to the right temperature, it adjusts the idle, a bit like a automatic choke, I think. But it's got an outlet and I've no idea where that goes. And if you do, let me know. Number 12. You know what, I've just realised this random bit of pipe here. It's exactly the same as that bit, so I guess Kevin gave me 2 of that. It's fine, got a spare. No, I'll give him it back. I'm sure he could use that at some point. But I certainly don't have that elbow for the other side of the intercooler, so again, need to add that to the list. So it looks like we've still got a fair bit to go before we can get this thing running. I will let you guys leave all the comments and do all the work for me. Meanwhile, I'm going to read the Haynes Book of Lies and see if I can figure out all the vac line stuff, and also I'm going to get started on the wiring and acquaint myself with wiring diagrams. We all love them. I actually don't mind them. Once I get my head around the wiring, I'm quite happy with the wiring. Can I say wiring one more time? It's freezing today, so I'm going to pack this up, continue this tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Please leave a comment. I'm new to this rotary stuff, but once I know it, I'll be an expert and I can help other people. Hope that actually helped, giving you a detailed look at all the bits and bobs that go on a FC turbo rotary engine. Otherwise, you've just wasted your time. But thanks for watching anyway. I appreciate the support. Bye for now.